Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? A timely, up-to-date, putting it out on the cutting edge. We're really late. We're like over a week late to Deadpool and Wolverine. But this is the first time we can really talk about it. I'm Mike. I'm here with Randy. Randy, hello. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, that's it took me, you saw it opening night, right? Like you saw it opening day, whatever. And technically I actually saw it the day after. So we were pretty good on seeing it. It's just a chance to talk about it.
Well, yeah, I'd say there's, it's twofold, right? You know, not to bore people with logistics. It's not just that, we could, all right, I saw it Thursday. Everyone, me and you. Get the whole crew together, Randy. Everyone. Get everyone together, the whole crew.
The gang, baby. Woo.
The gang, get the gang. What you people don't realize, there's a team of thousands working behind us every week. And to have coordinated them into a last-minute record for this movie, and then to edit it, and to put it back to get the budget for that, no, we had to wait a single week.
We don't pay them very well, that's why, but...
Have you ever heard the stories of James Cameron making Aliens and how the entire crew hated him and thought he was an idiot?
Mm-hmm.
That's this every week. But it is actually just Randy to me. Randy is the British crew, and I'm the egotistical genius because I'm an egomaniac. And every week, Randy's just like, "You sure you want to do it that way?" And I'm like, "God damn it, Randy. This is going to be our art."
We pulled our entire crew on the question that is our title, Wait, Are These Guys Friends? And universally the answer was, I don't give a fuck. So that's it. On we go.
Those people that have said they hate our logo art, they're the crew. and they're like, let us make a new one. And I say,
Has there been any progress on that?
No, but that's also because I've never followed up to anyone and been lazy. By no progress, it means I did nothing and interacted with no one. So any time that you're like, what's the status of this? And there hasn't been a status or movement, it is always me not doing something every time on any aspect. So I need you to know that. But before we get into the big thing that we watched, the main topic and some other maybe, dibbles and dabbles around it, did you watch anything that wasn't Deadpool and Wolverine this week that caught your interest and you feel like talking about? Or is this just, no, shut the fuck up, let's talk Deadpool?
Yeah, actually, I binged through, this is from a couple years ago, and I think it was just I was looking through Hulu.
No, what'd you watch this week?
This week?
See, the joke, because you said it was from a company. This is a comedy media podcast. I'm so funny. Thank you.
You could tell by my instant reaction of confusion how funny and thought out that comedic part was.
You have to understand, Randy, historically, when you have to explain a joke, it makes it 10 times funnier. That's a rule of comedy.
We have to do it multiple times. It's even better.
Hang on, no, let me explain it to you in detail. You had said, I said, what'd you watch? And you said, well, there was this thing a couple of years ago. And I went, I laughed like Jabba the Hutt. Randy, no. It's about what we watched this week, not a couple of years ago.
Randy, no bother. Mike, no bother.
Randy, no bother. Randy, no bother.
So what I was not completely accurate in my assessment of it. The show that was on Hulu that I watched this week came out 2 years ago. So anyway. It was because as I was going through Hulu and I saw there was a documentary released about the Chippendales murders from the Chippendales Club in the 1980s in Los Angeles.
I'm sorry. I'm sitting here laughing the most I've laughed in weeks and trying to have to stifle it because you're like, it's about the murders in Los Angeles. And Grizzly. And I'm like, John the voice. Anyway, hang on. I got to take a breath.
Compose.
Tell me about the murders, Randy.
So I didn't watch the documentary. However,
what the fuck are we talking about then? We watched this. Oh, sorry. I'm being a troll this week.
Wow.
I'm such a troll.
Compound sentence is not a thing in Mike's world that you can go. And so, I was reminded of seeing trailers and such of the limited series called Welcome to Chippendales. That came out, I'm going to say his name wrong, Kamal Nanjiani.
Oh
right?
yeah, Kamal Nanjiani. Yeah.
Yeah, I said
Good
it right.
job.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Plays the main character who opens the club, and a couple other people in it, Juliette Lewis and uh, it's a couple. So anyway, it goes through 8 episodes of the kind of rise and fall of that and the lawlessness that kind of happened behind the scenes, the the arson of rival clubs that was committed, the
Oh
murders
wow.
that happened. I mean, it is some pretty dark
What
stuff, but it was really
it
interesting.
I was busy making jokes. What platform is this on? If you said
Hulu.
it, I missed
So
it.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, I was.
I think it might have been FX initially.
Oh, but I like. We've talked about some of those drama FX shows because that's
Hmm.
where the People versus shows aired originally. They're usually pretty good. So yeah,
It was
that's
well done. I mean, it's pretty what the word is. I'm gonna say gritty, but like raunchy. I mean, it's about a male strip club, so I mean,
it's an adult
it
show.
there's an excellent way to put it. So, but really well acted, really well done, and a lot of things that even if I hadn't done much research on the material, but it is a real life twists and turns where you're just like, wow, this should be almost like a novel. How it's truth is stranger than fiction kind of thing. So interesting performances and something fun to watch, not fun to watch, but something entertaining to watch that I did not anticipate and just kind of came out of the blue, but that's what I watched.
Wow, created and executive produced by Robert Siegel. I thought it said Robert Smigel, like the Adam Sandler person. No, it's Robert Siegel. I was like, oh my God. But no, it's not him. I was looking at the wrong thing entirely. However, it is the Robert Siegel. That's a good pedigree. He's the guy that worked on, was he the director? No, he's the writer for 2 movies I really like. The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke and The
Mm-hmm.
Founder with Michael Keaton. I like both of those movies quite a bit.
Oh, is that the McDonald's one?
Yeah, have you ever seen The
The
Founder? I
Founder?
thought it was really, yeah, I'm a big fan of that movie. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Not just they kind of condensed some narrative, but Michael Keaton's
Mm-hmm.
performance fucking phenomenal and a really good supporting cast. Um, Nick Offerman as one of the McDonald's brothers, stone
So
cold
fun to
stellar.
see him in a different role, right? Like where it's
Yes,
so often he plays, and it's a great character, but so often he plays a very specific type of character, which is pretty much a lot like him after seeing a bunch of interviews with him. But it was different in that, and I really enjoyed that to see him play a little bit against cast, which was fun.
very much agreed. It was interesting in that movie because as we joke about what we watched, and I take it to The Founder from 2016, I'm the hypocrite here. I'm the full of shit. I liked him in that movie because he's behind the 8 ball a bit in that movie, and it's
Right.
so rare because he plays so many characters who are just always the smartest guy in the room and always on top of their shit. And he's really struggling from underneath as Michael Keaton's Ray Kroc just steamrolls his family and business. It's fascinating. Yeah. What the hell did I watch this week? Can I tell you what I watched yesterday that I got so excited exists? Because I am not watching the Olympics, but I am on Peacock watching my wrestling, as I often do.
Uh-huh.
If you want to dip in and out before a pay-per-view, they've started putting on what I've said should have existed for years. They're doing super cuts of feuds leading up to pay-per-views now, or premium live events, as they now call them, because it's not a pay-per-view. You're just going to watch the big event on Peacock. So, like, there's a 45-minute supercut of every segment that's leading up to CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre on Peacock in one clip. It's everything that they've done since December to build to this major match as just one movie you can watch. It's
Wow.
awesome. And they have the same thing. And for the smaller feuds, they're doing like Logan Paul versus LA Knight, and it's like 18 minutes, but it's only the parts of all the shows from that feud and nothing else. And I was like, this is clutch. Because there's some feuds I don't care about. There's stuff I want to catch up on. And I think that's a great way to bring in new viewers who are on Peacock. Like, oh, what's
Mm-hmm.
this SummerSlam that's this weekend? Oh, I haven't watched wrestling in so long. Oh, I've heard of CM Punk. Oh, but do I have to watch all these Raws and all these? Oh, no. Here's 45 minutes of this massive story that they accidentally were able to tell because he got hurt and turned amazing. That by the way, that's how every WWE story that's ever truly genius. Like, every WWE story that's ever truly gripping, I feel like happens by accident. They've never planned one out that's as good as anything that they had to stumble into. Anyway, I watched a bunch of those yesterday, and that was really fun and exciting.
That's fascinating to me. Like, to me, as someone who a past big WWE fan, right? Like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but still dives in from time to time. It's nice to have those type of things as primers for someone like me, because inevitably they're going to reference something that they may not do in the recap, 90-second lead up to the match.
Right.
That I can go back and be like, oh, they're talking about that. And I don't have to go, diving into a million different recaps on the internet or things like that. So that's interesting. When is SummerSlam again?
Saturday. So it will be,
oh, okay.
It will be, this is for this week that we're recording. It's Wednesday it's Thursday as we're recording. What day is this? It's Thursday as you're recording. This will either be out the day before or the day of SummerSlam.
Got it.
Okay. You consider this your SummerSlam preview show, even though we're not going to talk about it anymore after this. So, oh my God, did you see probably not, because I know you say you go in and out. The internet peoples are a little bit disgusted. They announced a 3-hour pre-show, but with no matches. They're doing it like a 3-hour. It's Pat McAfee and Michael Cole are like, we're hosting the SummerSlam pre-show out of Cleveland or wherever. I think it's Cleveland, and 3 hours, no matches. It's like, what the fuck am I tuning into 3 hours of a pre-show for?
I mean, McAfee's got enough of a following, right? Like, so maybe there's the crossover there that they're just hoping that that's enough to be the stragglers to lead in, and something maybe will happen that'll be viral. Maybe that's the idea.
That would be good. My optimistic viewpoint of it is 2 or 3 years ago, the first WrestleMania after COVID, the first time they had live crowds, I believe, there was rain. And that may not have been the COVID one, I don't remember. Right. There was a WrestleMania with rain. And they actually made Philly? All the... No, it was two before Philly. I don't remember what city it was. But they made the wrestlers and the announcers vamp to fill. And they've never had to do that. And it was some of the most fun segments. And it really showed who can improv and who can't. Who was able to really take... and who really needs a scripted promo and who doesn't. And I was like, I'll be honest, if it's not heavily structured and it's just all these wrestlers and people going out and like, hey, here's some framework, go kill some time, I think that could be a lot of fun. But they're not really advertising it that way. So, I'm curious what it could be. I guess, though, that unless you have anything else, that might be it for me for the week. Just did some work, took care of a few things, so likewise, we can probably head into the big one. And I did not. I had an idea for a little bit of game/torture for you that I did not prep you on ahead of time.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. You have the power of editing, or leaving it in to make me sound incompetent. So either way. So
this movie is, and I realize that coming to this late, most of the people who would care have already seen it probably. We're not exactly influencing anyone to go see this movie. But I'm curious. There is a large swash? I think it's swath, right? Yeah, it is. I just said it wrong because I'm an idiot. There's a large swath of this movie that is so like reference heavy and character heavy and spoiler heavy. Here's what I want you to do, Randy. I am going to start a timer on my phone, and I'm going to look at you, and I want you to give me a spoiler-free synopsis in 45 seconds of this movie.
So I can't reveal anything.
Yeah, I want a generic plot description with no spoilers. I can tell you that hang on, I'll tell you when to start. Here's your groundwork, okay?
Yeah.
You know that there's an alternate universe, at least one. You know that Wolverine's in it. You know the TVA is in it because of the previews. Anything that you remember seeing in a preview, you can mention because it was in a preview.
Okay.
So I'm going to start your clock. You have 45 seconds to give me a spoiler-free plot synopsis. Go.
So Deadpool is struck with a sort of internal crisis of wanting to matter based on the people around him that he cares about. he is thrust into a scenario where a timeline that he's involved with the TVA, is going to essentially be eliminated. And so he needs to enlist Wolverine to help him fix that. And he brings him in from a separate parallel universe and has him go through to help fight the inevitable bad guy in the Void, which is introduced in Loki.
That was excellent. I gave you 3 extra seconds. That took 48 seconds. That was so good.
I had to think about if I could say the Void or not, but then I was like, no, it was in Loki. I'm okay.
yeah. And it's in the previews, and they talked about yeah. I was comfortable with that. Randy, great. A clap. Good work. Because I was thinking about that. I was like,
it's hard, man. I like
this movie, talking about this movie, I want to say like this movie is a spoiler, but I mean it in the sense that if there was a movie that they had just written like, you remember, and these are not an indication of this movie's quality, but do you remember those like scary movie, epic movie, superhero movie that was not jokes, but just references? Right. And that was the joke. The joke is that that person was there, and this is a reference. There are times where this movie comes dangerously close to that.
Agreed.
There is a budget, a level of care, a quality where it is not epic movie or date movie. Don't worry. You will get something out of this one that you would not have gotten out of those. But for the sheer fire reference count and deep cut, character joke count, it approaches that, which we'll get into it in spoilers here momentarily.
Yep.
It makes me wonder how this movie will age. It makes me wonder how this movie can be appreciated outside of the bubble that we're in.
Right.
It's that said, it's a fun movie. It was a good time. I enjoyed the hell out of myself. But if you're going to look at it analytically, and we are to some degree, how will it play long term? How does it play to a general audience? And obviously, $550 million global take this weekend.
As of right now,
yeah, they're doing okay. The first weekend, but I've got a whole bunch of thoughts on stuff like that. But is there anything else you want to say, spoiler free, on this movie review before we dive into really just talk about anything we want?
No, I think it was it's a crowd pleaser, right? It is there specifically not to, this is not going to win any Academy Awards. I don't think. This is not, unless there's a different mindset of things, but this is not, I guess you could make an argument for maybe supporting for Hugh Jackman. I would think his
okay. No, calm your ass. Okay, that's not going to happen.
I would say his performance was that good. I don't know, but I thought, because it was a more, I don't know, it was different than his normal Wolverine portrayal, like a little bit, right? Like he seemed to be having more fun with it. So I don't know. Ooh, okay.
You're going to disagree. I was about to say no. I was going to say I was about to say I disagreed that it was different from his Wolverine portrayal. I disagree that it was different from his Wolverine portrayal. It was Logan. He was doing Logan until he had some fun, and then it was still Logan, but he happened to have had some fun. To me, he was not doing anything different. It was. The as well stated in the trailers, this is a different Wolverine, right? He brings in a Wolverine from, like, that's not a spoiler. They make it clear that it's a different guy. They've said that all over the marketing, that they want to protect Logan, and so this is a different Wolverine. To me, this is a different Wolverine, literally just because they say it's a different Wolverine. This is Logan Wolverine. He's moody, he's older for obvious reasons, but there's nothing to me that really differentiates him outside of the suit, which, don't get me wrong, love it, but to me, I don't see what he's doing differently.
So maybe for me then, it's just having not seen that version yet of Logan portrayed.
You mean the fun one,
right? So
okay,
I just said, I think, and maybe that plays into the crowd pleasing part of it, right? Like it is that much more fun because Logan is having fun too. Like, so maybe
agreed.
Because Deadpool never takes anything seriously. Wolverine takes everything seriously, so it just, it's nice to have that a little bit, Deadpool sort of pulls him away from that. And it's clear just from the acting performances that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds they have great chemistry, but they have a lot of fun together anyway. So you can see Hugh Jackman enjoying the performance while he's doing it, which is great.
Oh, you know what? There's something I watched this week. Did you watch their Hot Ones together? They did Hot Ones together.
No, I need to though.
It was really good. It's very charming. They're great in it. You can tell they're truly friends, and that's also the only reason Hugh Jackman did this is that he talks.
Right.
He said this in other interviews, but they really do get into the Hot Ones because Sean Evans is such a good interviewer and they bring things out. But Hugh basically was like, Hugh, first name basis, Hugh Jackman. He and I are good friends. Hugh.
Your buddy.
I used to hate that growing up, that my family, my mom was always a big first name celebrity person. And I was like, you don't know them. Don't do that. And I just did it and I hate myself. But
even though she went to high school with Magic Johnson, so
right, maybe
her and Irvin are buddies, yeah.
She could call him Magic, that'd be weird, but Irvin and my mom would be great. Even though again, they never knew each other, but it would count.
Call back.
But yes, well done. I much like Deadpool and Wolverine. If you haven't been following 23 episodes of continuity, you're never gonna get our references on this Deep Cut podcast. So you better go watch every single thing and listen to every single thing. So, where the hell was I? They're friends. But you can basically see Hugh Jackman says, like, he was done with Wolverine, but Deadpool came out, I think he said, like, weeks after he had announced his retirement. Like, he announced his retirement, Deadpool came out, and he was like, fuck, I want to play in the sandbox again. And he did an interview where he had said, he was looking at his career and his life and all these things. And it was, what do you regret? It was like a reflective thing. Not like something was bad. It was just sort of an exercise, right? And he said the only career regret he had, the only career thing that came up was he didn't get to do a Deadpool and Wolverine movie. And he was like, all these things in his life that were coming together, there was this list of, I wanted to do this and this and this. The only one that was his career that came to his mind was he wanted to play with Deadpool in a movie. And he then reached out. And then by all accounts, and I'm getting into some backstory stuff here that I've seen in interviews and looked up, they had been trying to crack this movie. This is the first Deadpool movie since 2018. It's been a rip, which I think also helps this movie. If we'd been getting a Deadpool movie every 2 years, like a Marvel movie, I don't know if this would have the goodwill that it has. This feels so good and fresh because we haven't seen Deadpool in 6 years. So
there was a point where I was conflating things from the two movies because it wasn't until I think very smartly, TV networks have been putting Deadpool and Deadpool 2 on like a constant repeat the last couple. So we were rewatching Deadpool 2 because it was on, and the dubstep fight with Bangarang, I completely forgot that was with Cable, and I had it in my head that was in the first movie. You know, it just was one of those things where, and that speaks to how long it's been since we last saw it. But I don't want to derail it real quick. I'm just curious because I had this thought. So
please,
if Deadpool, this obviously doesn't happen because Deadpool's not real, but like if Deadpool was on Hot Ones, would he? Because he
stick a wing up his ass and make out with Sean Evans. Yeah, that's exactly what he would do.
But he can't get drunk, right? Isn't that like because of the regenerative? Is that I forget how that stuff works.
You have to drink a lot. Like Wolverine has the intense regenerative. I can't talk today, so that's why he drinks to excess. Wolverine can get a good buzz on, but he drinks a lot.
So but they still feel pain, right? So I'm just trying to think if you're having intense, what is the point? Like, could their bodies regenerate to the point where they don't feel the heat or whatever of intense?
No, they would feel the heat. They just probably wouldn't shit out the pain like everybody else would.
Oh, okay, so
that's my mind. They would
again. I don't know where that came from. Where I just thought of that. But like, if Deadpool was doing Hot Ones, but you're right, he would shove a hot wing up his ass. I'm under the impression
they would taste to the heat, and then he would shove a wing up his ass, and then maybe eat that one. I don't know. That's how he would do. Comics Deadpool would, I don't know, violate Sean Evans with a wing, cuddle him, and ask him a question. That's what he would do. So, yeah.
I don't want to see that, but I'm intrigued by that idea.
You do. You want to see it. You know you do. So,
moving on. Back to your real thing.
Well, I have two things now. You split me off on two things I want to talk about. I want to finish the production story and some backstory of how this movie got made that people who are not as connected to the internet as us may not be aware. And I also want to do a quick comics nerdy thing about healing factors.
Okay.
So which one do you want to hit first, buddy? You pick the lane.
So let's stick with the healing factor because we kind of already divulged there, and then we'll circle back to the production.
Okay. So both of them, in theory, have like the most intense healing factor known to man, except it doesn't work the way that it should because both of them have things that are killing them constantly. So Deadpool never got over the cancer. Deadpool just has such a healing factor that his cancer is that's why he looks the way he does, right? It's the cancer is eating him alive constantly, but his healing factor is regenerating him constantly.
Okay.
So he could have, he might even have a more powerful healing factor than Wolverine, but it's constantly bringing him back.
Okay.
Wolverine has a very powerful healing factor that it could be even more powerful. In fact, in the comics briefly, when they took the adamantium out, this happened. But he is constantly being poisoned and killed by the adamantium on his bones. That the metal claws, the metal bones that are bonded to his skeleton is killing him. His healing factor, the reason that he's the only one that ever survived that process is because of the healing factor. So the two of them together could actually be way more powerful in theory than they are, but they both have these afflictions that are just dragging them down and making them have good healing factors.
So what would that allow them to have if they were not being poisoned or afflicted?
In theory, I think the thought is sort of video game rules. You're dragged down to a single cell and they can regenerate from nothingness. Gotcha. And to the point where sometimes in comics they play with it being almost that bad, and I don't ever like it when it's that powerful. They need to be able to heal from injury, not from everything. But there was a 90s storyline that went into the 2000s that I didn't like, and the fact that they eventually undid it probably says a lot. Post-Fatal Attractions, when Wolverine famously had the adamantium ripped out of him by Magneto, brought to life in X-Men 97, they did a storyline where eventually his healing factor and his power were such that he sort of devolved into a feral type creature where every injury was just patching him up and his brain was fucked up and this and that. I never really liked it. Basically, it turned out that the adamantium, while killing him, was also... It was, that scene of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns asks how sick he is and they try to push all the disease plushies through a door and they're like... Oh, you're not sick because not one single disease can get through the door. They're all trying to get through the door at the same time. And Mr. Burns is like, I'm immortal. They're like, no. In fact, a small breeze, immortal. That's what the healing factor and the adamantium were doing for Wolverine. They were almost keeping him in a balance that made him exactly the Wolverine he needed to be.
Okay.
And so that's where he came from. I'm not sure how much I like that. There's a reason that storyline is sort of forgotten, but they did it for a few years where they did that and it devolved him into this and they eventually put him back. Okay. So there's some comic book nerdiness healing factor. Would you like to touch on any of that before we go back to actual production news I was talking about?
Let's scale back to production.
All right. I'm exhausted. I need a drink of water. You just got me going. Oh, God. All right. Where I had been before you took me on the magical journey that we went on.
There we go.
We had talked about Hugh Jackman had said he was done, right? Ryan Reynolds, it turns out, had been working with Marvel and Kevin Feige for some time post-sale of Fox to Disney, trying to crack a Deadpool movie. And they just couldn't do it. They couldn't crack how to bring it in. I think I'd read that anything that they had tried to do that even came close was just like everything they'd already done. They weren't doing anything new or different or original. And trying to bring it in was just not working for them. He had a meeting scheduled with Kevin Feige. This is per Ryan Reynolds in recent interviews on like a Monday that he was going to go in and go, I got nothing. I don't know what to do. I don't know where we go with this. And then on like Friday, Hugh Jackman called him and said, I think I want to be Wolverine again to do a movie with you. And Ryan Reynolds was basically like, you got some real good timing. Because we're going to go in Monday and tell him like this is what it's going to be. He's like, this is the only way I think we can move forward with this. And that is apparently how it went down. And Kevin Feige has said in interviews that he told Hugh Jackman not to do it. Both post Logan and in the meeting, he was like, you had the perfect ending. Everyone loves you. It's universal. Don't do this. And I would understand why you wouldn't do this. And he was like, no, we're full steam ahead. And I'm like, all right. And like, he's not going to say no and then not do it. But he gave him
right the last
advice of like, he was like, you are beloved. Your legacy is secure. You don't need to do this. And he's like, we're going to do this. So like, okay, let's fucking go. So, which is really cool. So,
and to all our benefit.
Exactly. So that's a lot of the lead up and a lot of the production notes. And I don't think we've hit real spoilery talk yet. So this, I would say, people, is your last out. This is your last out. This is we're gonna snick you with spoilers. We're gonna pop those claws and stick one right in your fucking brain with all the knowledge of this movie. If you stick around for the next, I don't know, 5 seconds. And here you go. This is, I hope you screw. Oh, hang on. Oh, God, are you still there? We're going to talk about some San Diego Comic-Con news after the movie. We're going to talk a little bit of general Marvel news and things. Listen, I'm not going to do time codes. I edit this. I put this shit out. I'm tired and lazy, and I barely get this out. You're not going to have a time code in the description. Some really nice podcasters are like, check the description for a time code for when you can rejoin. Nah, you're just gonna have to skip, tap. Oh, they still skip. Oh, Deadpool down, skip. Deadpool. Oh God, they're still. All right, that's what you're gonna have to do. You will find us. It'll be great. Anyway, spoilers now. I didn't actually have one to start with. I just wanted to give people a moment to get out. So many fucking cameos, Randy. So many cameos. We'll get into. I don't want to do chronological or have an order, but I will. No, I have not. I've researched so much for this, but it strikes me that I didn't look this up. The bit with Thor, I was waiting for that scene to happen in this movie.
Yeah,
where he's dying with Thor, and that was going to be the end. Was that actually Chris Hemsworth? / was that Chris Hemsworth shooting a scene for this movie, or was that spliced footage?
It was spliced footage from the Dark World. So like that is an actual scene from the Dark World that they just put Deadpool in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I was curious about that too. And then I looked into it because I'm like, oh, is this coming into play now for future stuff? Like with
it's probably just a joke then. Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was a joke or something that would be coming. So
and
did
also
you hear
callback jokes, because how many different times did Deadpool say Thor? Like when he like woke up, Thor, like it's just, I think it was to get 5 extra jokes out of it. So yeah,
I thought that joke would then going to lead to something more because of that. I was waiting for that scene.
All accounts, now maybe we'll be proven wrong, but all accounts from the research I found on the internet was that that's just from the Dark World.
That actually ties me back to they talk about. I'm really just kind of aping the Hoplands interview on some of these. So go watch Sean Evans' Hopland with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. But one of the things that they talked about was one of the original pitches. You know how he said he was trying to break this movie and he couldn't do it? One of the original pitches that they went with for longer than you might think was the entire like first act or the first like 20 minutes was going to be a shot-for-shot recreation of Thor: The Dark World, but with Deadpool, just cause. And they're like, eventually we got rid of that, but I'm like, man, that would have been such a fucking troll. Just
it would have been on brand. Yeah, I mean,
the fact that they dedicated so much time to Thor: The Dark World and Avengers Endgame still blows my mind. As like one of the most maligned, least liked MCU movies, they keep almost like making it a linchpin to be like, fuck you. Yep. It's a linchpin now, baby. So, okay, so that's that one I wasn't sure. Also, I would like to note that I think the opening scenes with Happy Hogan don't need to be there, muddle the waters, and actually bring the opening of the movie down and are confusing. They could have, the entire movie could have been him just wanting to prove himself and be more for Vanessa, and it leads to this journey where he finds the Marvel MCU as we know it. It's great that you got Jon Favreau to come in and do a cameo. I think that opening cameo happening before the rest of the movie happened muddled the waters so fucking much.
Mhm.
And yes, I know that I get the impression they tried to tie it into, based on a montage and clips, it is somehow related to the device he got from Cable at the end of Deadpool 2, which at the time was strictly time travel. But because you see the X-Men Origins scene and some other stuff, they tried to say, no, it was also multiverse, is how I took it, right?
Yeah.
Is they tried to hand wave it away with the device you got from Cable at the end of Deadpool 2 allowed this. But I was actively confused to start the movie, and I think other people will be actively confused to start the movie. Because the plot of the movie is he wants to prove himself to Vanessa to join the Avengers is what he originally tries to do. And then that doesn't work out and he gets depressed. And so he stays in his world and works retail. I don't like that plot beat. I thought that plot beat was confusing. You could have had all these other references, all these other callbacks. You could have even had Happy in the movie later, that same scene in the movie later, and it would have played. Putting it where they did off the top, I thought was a real miscalculation and almost derailed the movie right off the top before they had to bring it back. Thoughts?
My initial thought to that, and I don't think it's unique because I did find some other takes on this when I was doing reviews and research, that was originally as it was being shot supposed to be a post-credit scene.
That would have made so much more sense.
And there was another part to it that was like a punchline, essentially. And then somewhere along the way, they decided they liked it more as the beginning part of it. And
but it doesn't make any sense in the beginning.
I don't know if that was the decision, but it felt like that to me after I sat there and kind of thought about it. But that's my main takeaway from it. I agree. I didn't think it added much.
It really did, and to me, it just muddled the waters. And the thing too is, like, I would like to note, by the way, that's the only Dark Knight Rises moment that I always call Dark Knight Rises, where I really enjoyed Dark Knight Rises in the theater when I saw it in the moment. Then I went home, and you're standing in front of the refrigerator, and you're thinking about the movie, and it just fucking falls apart. Every moment of that movie just disintegrates as you think about it.
Right.
This is the only moment in this movie where I had that, where I was like, and then I guess maybe because even in the theater, I thought, I don't know if I like how that played out just now. But it would have been a great post-credit scene, a mid-credit scene, because then you could do the post-credit scene that they did with Chris Evans and the joke. That would have been great. But
yeah,
that's a perfect post-credit scene joke troll. I loved it. But it would have worked so much better as a mid-credits. He crossed the universes. He made it. Hey, I want to join the Avengers. No, I don't think so. Try again another time. And he's talking about the events of the adventure he just had. It would have played so much better as a mid-credit scene. It just really...
And I'm trying to remember how many other times they referenced it, right? So Paradox referenced it, right? And
Vanessa referenced it at least once as to you tried to join the Avengers and then you just shut down.
And did he talk to Wolverine about it too?
Vague. Yes, he says, I tried to join the Avengers, they didn't want me, and Wolverine's like, fuck the Avengers.
Okay, so I don't know if it's a comics thing or whatever, but so it's established the Avengers were in his world, because that just makes me think of Spider-Man No Way Home when, like,
you don't have the
Peter
Avengers?
Parker, he's like, that's great, you're in the Avengers? What is that? Like,
yes. So that would be, to me, that whatever Wolverine...
Was he from 1015? Is that the Earth he's from?
I don't fucking know.
10,000, whatever. Yeah.
I don't fuck. I'm not. Doesn't matter.
Some comic book nerd you are.
Yeah, I don't. I've never given two fucking shits about Earth numbers. Is it the Gwenpool universe? Cool. Oh, it's the Logan universe? Cool. Give me the story beat. I don't want to know. Oh, Earth 135. I don't fucking care. Oh, is it the Logan universe? Got it. Thanks so much. Boy, yeah.
I only know if they put a graphic up. That's the only way I can know.
Exactly. You don't need to know. It doesn't fucking matter. But I know we're harping on the first cameo in the movie, essentially.
Yes.
But I think I harped on it because it's the first one and it's the one that works the least to me. Yeah. It was a bad start. And then the rest of the movie, they have to get over the stumble of the opening to then have an amazing movie. And I just think if they didn't have the stumble, I would have maybe not as even had as critical eye as I did for the rest of it, because the rest is just a good fucking time.
Yeah. And it's would you agree? I mean, I'll go into spoiler here. I'm probably gonna be saying the
Please.
same thing
I
you
mean,
did.
we're in spoilers. We did the
Yeah,
whole lead
right.
up.
It's like I
Yeah.
mean, I think Chris Evans was the best one. I mean, would you agree? Like, I mean, by far. I mean, just it's I was in the theater, and I think I even texted you this or whatever. I literally like slapped the armrest like next to me in the theater because I was so delighted at like that
I loved it.
twist. Like, and I should have seen it coming because doesn't he say like he calls like Cassandra like a dick face or something? He says something
Yeah,
that
he
is
says
very out of
something out of
character
character.
for Captain America,
Yeah.
but. Oh, it's just like the okay, I'm ready, and even Deadpool plays it up so much. He's like, he's gonna say it, and then flame
Yeah.
on, and just like, and it was even in the theater, everyone just there's this kind of cathartic laughter almost. It was just like, that's
And
great.
it's
This is what we're in for. I'm in. Like that, you could feel it in the theater.
it's great too because I know a few people, myself included, had said, "Oh man, I hope." I had actually said that as one of those "I hope that were to happen" cameos. And so when he showed up, I thought I wasn't. I was half and half. I was like, "Are they gonna do it? Are they gonna actually fucking do it?" Because I'm like, it would work either way, right? It would work
Sure.
either way. And I
And I guess it could be a variant of Captain America, right? So it could be somebody that is more foul
Oh,
mouthed or whatever.
Jesus
So,
Christ. We'll get to that in a second.
oh,
I don't
okay,
know if I like the idea. I don't want to derail because I want to talk Deadpool.
okay,
The Robert Downey Jr. shit at the end of
okay.
this. I've got so many thoughts about what that could mean, and I think I'm annoyed, but let's get back to Deadpool.
Okay.
My favorite cameo easily was Blade.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was a great one too.
He's also the cameo that I think, no, I was about to say could disrupt the real world the most, but no, that'd be Channing Tatum as Gambit, cameoing as Gambit in a movie that never
Never got
existed
made.
and was strictly based on behind the scenes and internet scuttlebutt.
Mhm.
Like, that's the deepest of the deep cuts. And listen,
Sure.
it's fun, right? But I loved it because I understood it. How does that play? Did you know that going in that Channing Tatum had once been cast as Gambit and it didn't work out? Did you know that before the
No,
movie?
I did not know that.
So here's my question to you then. How did all of that play for you in the movie while you were watching it? And what
So
did you think of it?
I think because I had such because of X-Men 97 being fresh in my mind, right? Because I watched the cartoons, I knew who Gambit was anyway, and the accent was so over the top. I was like, oh, that's doing Gambit. I'm like, I'm not sure. Is that Channing Tatum? Why is that Channing Tatum? But a lot of stuff was happening in that moment where there are like a lot of different referential things were being, divulged. And then so I didn't dismiss it, but after the fact, we get in the car, we're driving home. My wife and I are saying, wasn't it Taylor Kitsch in the movie? Like it was somebody else, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and then I looked it up and I said, oh, okay, this is a deep cut because of a winking nod. And then they just kind of make fun of a good reason to make fun of the accent, which that's
I
fine.
was going to ask then, I think it works maybe then, because that was going to be my approach. Like, does it work on two levels? Because the first level is just, it's a goofy Cajun. People who might know Gambit or might know comics accurate Gambit will be like, okay, this is insane. But then it goes that deeper cut of if you know, you know. And I was worried that it only was trying to work on the if you know, you know level. Do you know?
Well, and I think too that it's like Juggernaut wasn't Vinnie Jones, right? So I think that was accepted.
By the way, I didn't realize that because they just got another generic white big guy.
I got
no
notes
idea
on him, by the way. So it's the guy's name is Aaron Reed. And I'm wondering, I don't know if this plays into it, but did you watch the movie Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds? Okay, so how to describe that very quickly, but the idea, he's an NPC that becomes sentient essentially and saves the world. So the developer of the video game creates this giant version, like muscled up version of Ryan Reynolds' character that he has to fight to win. And
played by that guy.
And it was, and it is his head essentially put on this guy's body. And the name of it was like Dude. And it was kind of a joke because this guy was just like a moron, but he was like hugely muscled and powered up. And it was this guy. So I'm wondering if they first met in that realm. And then he was just like, I got this perfect guy to play Juggernaut if we don't. if we can't get
Makes
Vinny
sense.
Jones.
Wasn't it the same director as Free Guy? I'm pretty sure they brought him in because they were all getting along so well.
Sean Levy. Yeah, I think you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I think they all just became the best of friends.
Another
So-
random thing about him, just because I kept researching for some reason him. Do you remember the Match.com commercials that were happening during COVID era, where it was like the devil found this like this like terrible woman?
No.
Oh,
But I'm
okay.
going to look it up. Keep talking while I look that commercial
it was
up.
basically, it was a pretty clever take on it, where it was just like, you need, there's somebody for everybody. That was the idea for Match.com. And it's just this awful
Oh, yeah, I
woman
see
who
it.
does a whole
Yeah,
bunch
yeah.
of like terrible things, and the devil and her find love, and I forget what
Yeah.
sure. Anyway, he played
I'm
the devil.
looking at it now. Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Sean Levy or Ryan Reynolds? Sean Levy.
No, the
Oh,
guy
no,
that
the
played
big
Juggernaut.
guy.
Yeah. That would be even crazier if it was Ryan
I
Reynolds.
was
Yeah.
like, man, they got Sean Levy to act. No, that's amazing.
No. So that I couldn't believe I kept finding information that was interesting about the Juggernaut guy. I was just like, oh wow, there's more than one thing here.
And I love that you say that, because we talked last week about disappointing media, and one of my choices was X-Men: The Last Stand, which is where technically I think the Vinnie Jones Juggernaut would be from, because they did the Deadpool 2 Juggernaut, who was more comics accurate.
Yep.
And I thought it was Vinnie. I forgot his name. I thought it was the guy from X-Men: The Last Stand. They got Pyro back from X2 and 3 to be Pyro, same guy. Yeah.
Lady Deathstrike, right, was the same, and
was she the same? I wasn't sure.
It was. Psylocke was the same, because apparently she was in Last Stand. I didn't remember that. When I saw Psylocke was in there, I was like, oh, like it's not Olivia Munn, right?
I didn't even know there was a Psylocke in X-Men: The Last Stand. I was just thinking they got knockoff Olivia Munn.
No, it's whoever played it, like I'm sure in the background or something in Last Stand.
Here's the thing. I love you, Deadpool and Wolverine. You're not going to make me watch X-Men: The Last Stand again to catch your deep cut references. It's not going to fucking happen. So, no thank you. So, what else? Elektra, Jennifer. Here's my question. This is not based on trivia. This is me not looking anything up. Your opinion. Did they go to Ben Affleck to be Daredevil? He turned them down. And then they go to Jennifer Garner to be shitty Elektra instead? Or did they always go Elektra because it's the worst, weirdest option?
I think they knew that they wanted that joke. As stupid as that sounds, I think they wanted that joke about Daredevil's dead. It's fine. Like they want it. And I think they knew Jennifer Garner would be game enough to like be okay with that type of stuff. I will say one thing, and whoever the personal trainers are for this movie, I want to like Hugh Jackman is 55.
Yeah.
By the way, Jennifer Garner's 52. She looked ripped in that movie. I was like,
I'm going to dial it back to Wesley Snipes, because Wesley Snipes was definitely looking skinnier, like old man skinnier, but also completely believable, like as Blade at 62. So also there's another deep cut reference that I wonder who laughs and why when they go, there ain't never going to be another Blade.
Yeah.
And they literally have Deadpool mug into the camera. I laughed because I know that Mahershala Ali movie ain't never getting made. I don't care what they say. That shit is never getting made. And that all the development issues and the fact that they just can't get it working. And I laughed. Does that joke work for anyone else for any other reason? Because it's clearly a laugh beat. Deadpool takes time to look at the camera directly. So they are designing that for you to look at, acknowledge, and laugh. How does that play and why to anyone else?
I think it's a good deep cut laugh. I think it's even just the way that Wesley Snipes delivered it. It kind of had that amusing connotation to it anyway. So like it was definitely meant to be the deep cut joke, but it worked, I think, well enough just as like a chuckle type thing because of the way that he delivered it.
And listen, not to be remiss here, I know we went knee deep into spoilers. I didn't know if we should give context. All of these cameos we've been talking about a multiverse. I'm pretty sure you can infer what's happening, regardless of when or why. They're just traveling around. There's a lot of people from all these universes. And the biggest thing to me is that even though technically Blade is pre-Fox, he kind of gets lumped into that era because of X-Men and Spider-Man, like the Sam Raimi ones. This really is a love letter to everything pre-MCU. This is saying this is our goodbye film. This is our alumni class project. This is bringing it in and shutting it down because we're all moving on. Let's acknowledge it. I got kind of emotional at the mid-credit scene, which was the cheesy. They knew what they were doing as a joke.
Oh yeah.
They took all the behind-the-scenes footage from like the X-Men movies, the Fantastic Four movies, all the Fox movies, and did a Green Day's Time of Your Life cut, like you're graduating high school. Although you'll notice that who didn't show up, they definitely had to cut that X-Men footage to not show Bryan Singer being on set the entire time. I realize it's probably because they couldn't have never got a day of shooting with him and everyone. I would love to have seen Chris Evans with that team, like standing in the room with all of them. Also, I'm surprised they didn't have the Thing from any of the Fantastic Four iterations because he's CGI. They could just stuck the Thing in there and call it a day.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that would have been fun. But neither here nor there. I had other, unless you're moving on. I didn't want to get. I had a couple of just other fun things that I found in my research.
We'll
I thought was
some other movies
entertaining that you may or may not have known. So, but the Welcome to Wrexham show that Ryan Reynolds does on the Welsh football team that he bought with Rob McElhenney. So I don't know if you've watched any of that.
I heard that one or two of his players were in the movie somewhere, and I have no idea where.
So that is Ollie Palmer, which is one of the strikers on the team, is just in a bar scene. I think when they're trying to track down Wolverine, when he's trying to go around again. That was less fun. Paul Mullen, who was like probably the star of the team that they went and got, who's actually from the town, from Wrexham, so he's like a hometown boy come back to do well, is one of the Deadpool variants, and in the credits he's listed as Welshpool, which is just amusing because these are the things in Wales. And then Rob McElhenney is one of the TVA guys, the one where he's like, I can't look you in the eyes, because he has the mask on when Wade Wilson comes out in the hallway.
I was like, I did not see him. Now I know.
That's why. So, and they actually referenced that in Welcome to Wrexham. They took like a screenshot of it to be like, the only time I could be on, they couldn't even show my face. And I thought that so there were three of those kind of crossovers. It was fun if you've done anything with their type of things. I had a couple questions, and you may know this better than I do, just from the comics part of it. So, could Cassandra Nova get into Deadpool's head because she was that strong of a telepath and things like that? Because I thought Deadpool's mutation was that he could essentially evade mind control.
Oh, no, I don't feel like he's ever been able to evade mind. In fact, most of the... I've thought... Now, hang on, let me look it up.
For some reason, I thought I read that. That could have been Wikipedia scaring, like, relieving me.
Admittedly, my reference that I was going to take from this is from an Elseworld style thing, a what if style thing. In Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, he gets mind control, and that's why he kills everybody in the Marvel Universe.
Oh, okay.
Which, by the way, really fun book. They just did a book of how would Deadpool murder everyone in Marvel, and they published a 4-issue miniseries of him killing everyone and how he would do it. Wow. It's really fun. Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. Highly recommended. So, I'm going to look up Deadpool mind control here and see what we do. Wow, no, it does say he is apparently practical. Oh, it says practically invulnerable. Okay. Oh, to having his mind read. Deadpool's, a lot of these things say he is officially immune, and it's got to be just because I'm basing it off the story that is not technically in continuity. So let's give it on that.
Sure.
That's me.
Well, and I'll buy that. If Cassandra Nova is the twin of, Professor Xavier, then maybe they're strong enough that they can supersede that. I'll buy that. I just wanted to make sure.
And also, we haven't talked about Emma Corrin. Emma Corrin did fantastic. They did such a good job, to the point where if they ever adapted the actual X-Men run that Cassandra Nova was in, bring Emma Corrin back. I'm in. That was great. Although I will say Emma Corrin is too young and smooth in my mind, because Cassandra Nova is a wrinkly bag of flesh, because Cassandra Nova was aborted in the womb and she had to live in secret, and it's this gross wrinkly little, I didn't quite get born but I kind of did, creature that looks like a gross wrinkly female Xavier. Emma Corrin's a very attractive person,
right?
I want to see gross wrinkly Cassandra Nova just once. Give me one gross wrinkly Cassandra Nova, please. That would be really nice.
They did, she did have creepy's not the right word, but she had that devious kind of just
Yes.
that knowing that her gifts allow her to subvert any sort of morality. She's
Yes.
very aware of that and seems delighted by that fact. Before we jump into the other stuff, I got one more for you.
I just want to talk about the Wolverine montage at some point of all the different Wolverines. But what do you do with your questions?
Okay. I mean, we could certainly hit that first. This is more just a fun, silly thing. But the nice pool Deadpool variant, which was Ryan Reynolds with long hair and the dog and everything. What would you have picked for his fourth wall breaking reference? Because the proposal was funny, but I think there would have been other options that would have made me laugh more.
I mean, as an old, I would have died if he just looked to the camera and went, 3 guys, a girl, in a pizza place. I'd have lost my fucking mind.
That's what I wrote too.
Is it really?
It was that one, or I said, or if he turned and started singing like "I Swear" from. Do you ever see Just Friends, the one with Amy Smart?
Oh yeah.
Like in the beginning of that, he's like,
that would have been fun.
So it's just it, but yes, 2 guys, a girl in a pizza place, and then eventually 2 guys and a girl, like it became the name of, or something like that. Yeah,
they didn't need the pizza place anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, right. If he did that, because that was basically our first introduction to him, that would have been tremendous.
And I also just appreciate Nice Pool because I do feel like they got some of the meanest digs at the MCU itself through him, where he's like, I personally think it's been steadily great since Endgame. Just constantly positive. Yeah. It's just like, oh boy. There you go.
Did you see in the credits, he's actually credited as Gordon Reynolds, which is his fictional twin, Ryan Reynolds' fictional twin brother?
I had no idea. That's great.
Which apparently he's done that in the past. I didn't see what it was for, but he's done that in the past for another movie where he shows up as his second thing, and they're like, yeah, this is just his fake twin brother. I'm like, Ryan Reynolds is maybe is as crazy as Deadpool. I don't know.
Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I appreciate it because he has technically been involved with this character and wanting to be doing something with this character. I realize Hugh Jackman has had consistent appearances since the year 2000 as Wolverine, right? He's been regularly doing it, acting. Ryan Reynolds has been involved with Deadpool in some fashion or another since 2004. I know we've only gotten 3 good performances and X-Men Wolverine, Origins Wolverine out of it, but he has stayed dedicated to the character and bringing him to the screen for almost as long as Hugh Jackman. But we didn't get to see him the entire time because of all the bullshit he had to go through to even make it happen. They had told him that he had signed on to do Deadpool. And when they put him in X-Men Origins Wolverine, they went, you do this or you never get your solo Deadpool film. They held it hostage over him.
Right.
Because he was like, he knew it was terrible. And they held him to it or else you'll never get this. And he sucked it up and did it. And it eventually paid off because of the work he put in. You don't get the impression because it doesn't feel like he's been playing this character or working with this character for 20 years, but he has. And you can see that dedication and feel that dedication when you know that. But what else do you have? Because I'm itching to get a few more referencey things in.
And this would be one thing. I really liked Emma Corrin's performance as Cassandra Nova, but it did feel like another of the latest in line of Marvel movies where the villain seems all-powerful and destructive, but then everything gets tidily kind of wrapped up at the end of it by the heroes. And that's fine. It's kind of a one-off, but I'm hoping that if Cassandra Nova comes back in future movies, that essentially was destroyed, right? In this movie, as far as we know. I mean, but again, maybe it's just that one version, right? Like, because it's in the void. Is that the way out of it?
One, yes. Is so powerful, can flay you apart. What Cassandra Nova does to Chris Evans, snaps fingers, falls apart. Oh my God. The whole movie should have been over in 40 seconds. Does that to everybody every time they see them. Like that. They introduced a power so powerful that, and then they don't explain why Cassandra Nova doesn't just do it every time, right? They box themselves in for that gag, and then the stakes are like convenient. That why aren't you just doing that every time? It's silly. You've got an instant win every time. Alternately, Shit, what was the second thing you had said? Oh, the multiverse. Do another version. This is why I'm so sick of the multiverse. This movie's fun. Let's end it. There's no fucking stakes to anything. That's why King was never going to be a good villain. Whatever other bullshit aside about why that ain't going to work out, we won't get into, obviously. But that's why King was never going to be a good villain. Because we've seen him defeated 3 times already. And we saw him defeated 3 times pretty handily. Oh, cool. In that after credits scene of Ant-Man, there's 1,000 more. I don't feel that threatened because we've already seen him defeated 3 times. So I'm good, you know? And you kind of gave me the impression in Ant-Man Quantumania that the one you just defeated was the worst one. So, like,
agreed.
You know, I'm good. Yeah. Oh, the one that looks like a Egyptian pharaoh? I'm not that worried about that one because you just got that one taken care of. So, yeah. There's no stakes. I'm tired of the multiverse. What else you got before I hit a few more referencey things?
That is the only other one, other than trying to fan cast, thinking ahead to say if Henry Cavill is going to be in something, can we put him in the Marvel universe? Just that one like little fun cameo, and then Deadpool kind of going, "You'll be treated better than across the street," which I thought was a great fun throwaway line. And just to think if he's not going to be involved with it, then could we bring him in as something? I'm sure he would be a great addition.
I got to tell you, I don't know if this character's cast in Thunderbolts. I don't remember if this is happening or if I'm just reading scuttlebutt, but I think it would be so clever if he would have to dye his hair blonde, or they don't do it. They just say this character's got black hair now. Have you heard of the character the Sentry?
Tell me more about it. It peaked something, but I don't know much about it.
He's Superman for Marvel, but with 2 catches in the comics. He debuted in mid-2000s, just before the New Avengers. He had his own story. He was in the New Avengers. He is Superman. Power set. He wears a cape. And, no strong flying superhero in Marvel outside of Thor wears a cape. He was Superman.
Mm-hmm.
The catch is, he was erased from history, is how they played it. It turned out, to save the world, that everyone had to forget he had ever existed. And his introductory miniseries before being in New Avengers shows how he had been in every important Marvel event ever, but also how they perceived it without him, which was the comics that we all know.
Okay.
So this other person took his place. And it was them to try to say he'd actually been there the entire time. And because he's Superman, I think it would be really clever to just say, yeah, he's also the Sentry. He was there the whole time.
Sure, why not?
But that's another reference. Would it be a deep cut reference that everyone's like, this is too on the nose? But finally, can I talk about these fucking Wolverines, Randy?
Let's do it.
All the Wolverines, and you get the Deadpool the Deadpool group at the end. All the Deadpools from the Void, with your Welsh Pool, your Dog Pool, your Lady Pool, Blake Lively, by the way. After all that, never takes the mask off. Yes, there was a Head Pool, who is technically from the... People are like, I thought they always said if you cut Deadpool's head off, he actually dies. That's how you could do it. Yes, he's from the zombie universe, but we don't need to get into all that. Wolverine, however, gets a handful of montage references that are deeply comics accurate. When Deadpool goes to search for a new Wolverine to save his universe, which is the real crux of this, it's not just that he needs a Wolverine to help him. The Logan from the Logan movies, the classic X-Men movies, who died in Logan, is the linchpin of keeping his universe together. Without him, his universe is going to fall apart. And even though that would normally take thousands of years, this dick from the TVA, Mr. Paradox, wants to speed it up and have it happen in a couple of days. That's the actual plot of this. Okay. Which is also why the Jon Favreau scene makes no sense. That should have happened after, because if he could have just crossed universes and done this beforehand, it shouldn't fucking matter. Anyway, that scene really bothers me the more I think about it. But he goes to find a Wolverine that he thinks will take care of it. And if you look at all the variants, you've got... I know that they did it it looks like they just took CGI and shrunk Hugh Jackman down for short comics accurate Wolverine.
Right. More hairy too, right?
Yes. I would have loved if they had actually gotten a genuinely physical. Like, don't just shrink down Hugh Jackman, but then put his face on it. I want to still see comics accurate Wolverine. Just throw Hugh Jackman's face on it. I know it was a quick, we're just going to shrink down Hugh Jackman.
5'3"? Is that what he's supposed to be?
Yeah. I think he's so tiny. He's Danny DeVito with muscles. It's great. Seeing Secret Agent Patch Wolverine was cool. Yeah. The cover of Crucified, that's a famous cover of, like, I think X-Men 280 something, of him crucified in the skulls. But just the way they brought that to life, and Deadpool's just like, I'm gonna go. I loved that so much. And the one that got me excited, where I slapped my armrest and went, was Age of Apocalypse Wolverine with one hand. Because that is, of all the ones they did, it's the only one that I thought they brought to life that also wasn't a joke. He had to get out of there because that Wolverine was going to murder him.
Oh.
And so, like I saw that one, and he was like, you seem angry. I'm going to go. And just to see that one brought to life properly, like, he was clearly properly there, and that was the real one. I was just like, oh, yeah, that's the good stuff. Give me
nice.
That. Oh, and then Brown Suit Logan with a quick flash of the Hulk and the claws. Although I would like to know, actually, hang on, I got to look up one thing. Cover Logan. I got to check one thing before I make a reference. Yes, there were some people who tried to say, excuse me, when the Wolverine debuted and fought the Hulk in Incredible Hulk 181. He had the yellow suit. You're right. However, that shot is actually referencing Incredible Hulk 340, because that's the cover where you get brown suit Wolverine with the reflection of Hulk and the claws. So
here's comic book nerd Mike. Thank you.
Yes.
I was wondering where you'd gone.
I mean, it was 30 seconds. I was just talking about another comic. God damn. I had to make sure I wasn't lying, because I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they weren't referencing its first appearance when he fought the Hulk. But technically, if you want to get real nerdy, hang on, let me sit back here. Randy, I just want to let you know that I don't have a girlfriend. I haven't had a girlfriend in years. I sit at home alone with my cat. But I want you to know the things I do know are that in Incredible Hulk 181, Wolverine's first appearance where he had the yellow suit, he fought the Green Hulk. But in Incredible Hulk 340, where Wolverine has the brown suit, and that's the one they reference in the film, he fought the Gray Hulk. So if you're good at, everyone's sitting here saying, why wasn't he in the yellow suit when he fought the Hulk? Already, I'm sitting here saying, you can have the brown suit in that shot. Why isn't it the Gray Hulk? Yeah.
Some fan service movie this was.
Anyway, ladies, I am on Bumble, Tinder, and Plenty of Fish. You can find me if you look. I am out there. I am extremely available. And I will talk to you, yo girl. Hang on, let me try this. Yo girl, can I tell you all about why Wolverine's wearing the brown suit in X-Men 340 or in Incredible Hulk 340? Yeah, baby.
I really hope like the Barry White Luther Vandross is getting like edited in here. Like
I just do that. I'll take a pause. I'll do that right now. Let me do a whole diatribe real quick. Hang on. I got to think of a topic I could really go on. Fine, I'll keep it with Logan and X-Men. I got to think about one. Got it. Okay. Hey, girl. I just want to let you know that it was in Wolverine Series 2, number 100, where he got his adamantium back in. Apocalypse wanted to turn him into Horseman of Death. He already had a Horseman of War, and that was Gambit. It was the time when Gambit was evil. He was trying to reintroduce the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and he was going to kill Wolverine and rebound the adamantium back to his claws and his bones. And he hadn't had it in a long time, and everyone's like, are they going to do it? That they did it. And girl, I want to bone you like they boned his adamantium. Yeah.
That's some sensual shit right there.
Ooh, girl, I wanna bone you like Wolverine's claws. Ooh, girl, I'm gonna stab you in the heart like with love. Is that good?
God. Wonderful.
Thank you. I'll make sure you and I recording when there was no music. I recognize you probably have direction. But that when there's music and
God.
everyone's listen, sexuality is fluid, bro. I understand this is what you get into. And that's why you asked me specifically before we started recording to do this. This was pre-planned. I get it.
Not factual.
But I can't wait till you're listening and I lay down the sick beats that are going to be in that bit. Just
oh boy, I'm on pins and needles
here's
here.
the deal. Sexuality is fluid, but your marriage is not. You're a happily married man, and I'm going to need you to keep that in mind. And it's okay to listen. It's okay to look. But that's as far as this is going to go. Wait are these guys friends? That's all it'll ever be. Girl.
Oh boy.
Last week, by the way,
This has been our 5-minute segment of Mike amuses himself and Randy sits by idly.
Remember last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I don't remember which episode, where I was like, I don't laugh at a lot of things. It's got to be really something unique and special to get me to properly laugh. Found it. Making you uncomfortable.
Right.
Making you deeply uncomfortable while I make sexual Wolverine slow jam references. We found the sweet spot in more ways than one, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about next? You got references?
Can't spell adamantium without you and I, right? So.
Hey, yeah, you're right. Good shit. Well, then, that's good. I didn't think about it.
Let's move on to Comic-Con, as I think we can puts a bow and then throws out the window our Deadpool and Wolverine talks.
I guess genuinely, we'll put a bow on.
Oh, you got one more. Yeah, go for it.
I won't do any more references, although your record name today, Hannibal King, did you catch the reference that he made to Wesley Snipes not liking him in real life for a spell? Yes. That was good. They seem to have, funny. Speaking of Comic-Con, they came out and hugged on the stage, so they seemingly put that past them. I guess the final thing...
I didn't feel like Wesley Snipes would have agreed to do that if there hadn't been at least some sort of...
Of course. I guess my final thing I would say is that I'm curious how this movie will age. Not just age down the line years from now. I'm curious how this will play a few months from now when you watch it at home. Are there going to be moments where there was something that somebody pointed out on a show I was watching and it really stuck with me? In Spider-Man No Way Home, if you watch that movie and avoid, have you watched Spider-Man No Way Home recently?
Probably within the last 6 months.
Okay, let me reframe the question. You had it on while you were at home doing stuff, probably, right? Did you sit down and watch Spider-Man No Way Home? Like you watched?
Yeah, it's much more the former than the latter. Yeah.
If you were to sit down and watch that movie right now, the second half, when like the villains are coming in and the other Spider-Men come in, the pacing of the movie feels a little weird because I'm telling you, they edited in like pause breaks for where the audience would be reacting in the theater. So like, I feel like they did that here. So when you watch those movies at home, Andrew Garfield shows up and there's an unnatural beat with a lack of dialogue and a lack of thing because the audience is clapping in the theater. Watching that movie at home, I still enjoy it, but I feel like it's hard to not notice that they were cutting that for fan reaction. Think about that the next time you watch the movie. Next time you watch Spider-Man No Way Home, think about how long it is between when you first see the inkling of Andrew Garfield to the next time something actually happens. Because they were putting in audience applause breaks. And I'm curious how that will work for this movie when you watch it in a void.
And I think it relates as well to how, I mean, they did such a phenomenal job keeping leaks and spoilers out so that you were genuinely surprised by cameos, by other things like that in this movie. Now, and that's admirable. That's a really good job of keeping that under wraps until we go see the movie, so we can enjoy the movie going experience in full.
Yep.
The hazard of that is a repeat view. You're still amused, but it is, you never re-get that initial reaction,
well said,
right?
Well said. You're never gonna be like, you'll have an amused or bemused smile on your face. You know?
It will very much turn into the way that I told you I had just watched Spider-Man No Way Home, where it'll be on,
yes,
and I'll be doing something else or whatever, and I'll put it on in the background, and then I'll chuckle at something.
You are
that's kind of how I view it.
You are 100% correct. So now I would like to, you had mentioned that there's obviously some big Comic-Con news, both Marvel and otherwise, that has come out. You are not super well-versed in everything that happened at Comic-Con. I'm sure you've heard some of the highlights, obviously, the big headlines.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm going to run through just a giant list I found of all the news from San Diego, literally just a list. And outside of the Robert Downey Jr. news, which we will touch on, not a lot to get into, but I want to talk about it. You tell me if you say, ooh, I want to talk about that real quick. Okay?
Okay.
So are you ready, sir? And I'll just fucking speed run this. They announced the new name for the Fantastic Four movie. Do you have any thoughts on that? It's Fantastic Four First Steps.
I am excited for this because of the casting. I think it's really Pedro Pascal is good in everything, so like I'm sure he'll be very good as Reed Richards. I think he has the right temperament too, like that kind of. I think that'll work really well. It's interesting. Two of the guys are from shows that I adored. We've talked about Joseph Quinn and Stranger Things in the past, or Ebon Moss Backrack, but he's in The Bear and he's playing the Thing. But he's great in The Bear, really, really good. So I'm excited to see him in something else because I was not as familiar with him in pretty much anything else other than this. Other than The Bear rather, and then this. So I think they're going to be doing some, it's fun to have them back in here, especially after the most recent Fantastic Four left such a bad taste in everybody's mouth. The one before it, it was flawed, but there was still fun stuff from it. The one with we've
Chris
talked
Evans,
about that in the past, but
also, that just made me think of the deepest of deep cut references that I wish they had brought into this movie. They really wanted to go for it, and I mean really wanted to go for it. You bring in somebody from the cast of the failed 1994 only ever released bootleg, and you bring in that guy who played Captain America, J.D. Salinger's kid in like 1991 on the direct-to-video movie. If either of those had any kind of reference or cameo, I'd have lost my shit. I don't care. I'd have lost my mind. So moving on down the line. Did you see the Captain America trailer they released? The new one with Harrison Ford and the Red Hulk footage?
Yes, yeah, it was that was one of the previews for
that's right.
When I
they
saw
released,
it.
Yes, Wolverine, they put it out. Then they had them talking. Any thoughts on that, or just more Marvel? Let's keep moving.
I did not dislike Falcon and the Winter Soldier as much as everyone else seemed to. So I'm kind of excited to go see it. So I think this is a fun and interesting take. The fact there's a Red Hulk, I'm interested. I think this is something I'm always been. Captain America has by far been my favorite Marvel interpretation of superhero. So I mean, and even though that was Chris Evans, is still just the idea of Captain America for some reason just intrigues me. So I think it's really going to be cool. I'm excited to go see it.
So quick thought on Falcon and Winter Soldier, especially considering some of the shows and shit they put out after. It is perfectly fine and serviceable. It did not break the doors down. It wasn't the most amazing I've ever seen. It was a fine few episodes of TV. The problem is it probably should have just been a movie. There was a lot of pad there. They could have probably cut that into a pretty good movie. And then that's that. And I also think they would have, if they had just cut that into a pretty good movie, they would have had more, I think, excitement for a sequel to that where he's actually Captain America. So instead of having to, but anyway, that's a whole other conversation. So moving down the line, moving away from Marvel, we'll end with Robert Downey Jr. I just want to hit the rest of this list. Do you give a shit about some of the other trailers that came out? There was a new Transformers trailer for that cartoon. There was the Ring of Power trailer for the second season for Amazon. There was the Creature Commandos trailer for DC, the cartoon. Did you care about any of that?
0 for 3.
I kind of care about the Creature Commandos because that is a prequel to the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn made. James Gunn is helping to produce that in his role for DC. It's basically the Suicide Squad, but with all the weird animal characters. And I think that could be a lot of fun. The diesel from that coming in, and it's a cartoon, but it just sounds fun.
Okay. I didn't know that's what that was, so maybe that'll turn me a little bit on it. So it's what's the Ring of Power? Is that what's called, the Rings of Power, or
it's the Lord of the Rings prequel?
No, I don't. And I gave that like the first season two episodes and did not give it shit.
Yes,
oh
there
my
it is.
God.
Don't give a fuck. I liked the trailer for the Penguin, but you said you don't give a shit about any of that, right? That you didn't like the. You said the Penguin was the least favorite part of the Batman movie, which you did like the Batman quite a bit, as I recall.
I did, yeah. It seems to be getting a lot of buzz, so maybe I'll try and give it another chance. But
I thought it looked
not
good.
Just yet, but I might.
They released a new trailer for the new Alien movie, Alien Romulus, which just to me looks like a smash cut of Alien and Aliens put together, which I'm all in on. We have not had a good traditional Alien movie in forever. We've been getting this fucking overly dramatic schlock from Ridley Scott, Prometheus, Covenant. I don't give a fuck. Give me my horror Alien movie without a Predator. I don't want an Alien versus Predator movie. I'm hyped for Alien Romulus because it looks like a return to form. If you haven't watched the trailer, give it a shot. Do you see the news that there is a Schumacher cut that could exist of Batman Forever? Like the original footage that he shot where it was darker with Val Kilmer. He says it's still out there. And they said if people clamor, he could put out a Schumacher cut. Do you want the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, Randy?
I think he's hoping that this is going to get the Snyder cut treatment
of
Justice League, right? Which is not going to,
love. But you know what? If you want it, hashtag.
I think he's hoping that, but I don't think it's going to be.
Unless you start the Schumacher cut hashtag, Randy, it's not going to happen.
Unless it was like something that you and I like on the side just did like a hate watch and then just like shit on it for, however long it is.
And then it turns out to be amazing. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Did you see the Boys prequel with Soldier Boy, Jensen Ackles, and the lady who played Stormfront as whoever she was as a Nazi in the 50s? I'm in on that. I'm excited for that era of seeing the rise of Vought and Soldier Boy, who was so good in the last season of The Boys. Did you see any of that news? I'm in on Soldier. Are you in on, having talked about the decline of The Boys this season, are you in on a prequel?
I got to get back, and we've talked about this before, it's just The Boys is one of those that keeps, for some reason, ending up on my back burner of stuff I got to devote to. And so that's got to be the next thing that I'm like, when I'm really going to be all in on a show, that I need to kind of just reacquaint myself with it. And then I think once I get to that point, even knowing that this season has not been the best or the best received, I would still, I like either prequel, sequel type ideas. So I think I'd be interested in it.
All right. There is a whole host.
I just have to become more aware with the material.
There is a whole host of Star Trek and Doctor Who news that I know you don't care about, so I will hit 2 quick points.
Factual.
I'm excited for the Doctor Who spinoff news because now that their showrunner, Russell T Davies, is back in charge, as he was in the early 2000s era, he's building that world and universe again, and I'm excited to see the TV. I believe it's either a TV movie or a short miniseries they're doing, where they're taking a bunch of the ancillary characters from over the years and putting them together in a show that I think could be a lot of fun. I just think it'll be a good time with characters you don't know about, but I think could be a cool idea. Star Trek news has got me frankly depressed because the show everyone wants to see is a show called Star Trek Legacy that would have come out of season 3 of Picard, which is the only good modern Star Trek show except for Star Trek Lower Decks, which is a fun cartoon, but live action, there's only been one good Star Trek show, and it's the 3rd season of a show that had 2 incredibly bad seasons. So there's a man named Alex Kurtzman who I will dedicate my life and resources to getting away from Star Trek, and they just keep giving him more Star Trek. The one season he had nothing to do with is the one I like. And they just keep giving him shows, and they're fucking terrible. And sorry, I just get really bad. There's a new show, Starfleet Academy, that's going to be like the modern academy of whatever world they're living in. They're going to bring in a lot of like old characters. I think it's like holographic teachers. The only noteworthy one that I'm kind of excited about is they're going to bring back Robert Picardo as the Doctor from Star Trek Voyager. But there continues to be an erasure of the best Star Trek series ever made, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. They just keep not bringing. They've brought back characters from Next Generation, from Voyager, from all these other shows. No one comes back from Deep Space Nine, and it's the best show they've ever made. And frankly, maybe that's for the best, because this man's Medusa-like turn to stone touch on everything they do for Star Trek. Maybe it's good that he stayed away from the best show they ever made.
Okay.
I'm done. I'm moving on. Anyway, sorry. I needed to get that out there for me. Thank you for your time and efforts.
Purge complete. Well done.
Oh, God damn it. Did you see the DC Studios logo that they revealed for new DC movies coming out? And if you did you care?
I didn't. Not that I didn't care. I didn't see it. So, which I may still not care, but I didn't see it.
James Gunn announced a new logo for DC Studios, and it's the 90s DC Comics logo, the one they used from the 70s and 90s. The classic one with the 4 stars in the circle. So you can tell they're just trying to be like, you can like us again. It's going to be. They're pulling a 1997 Justice League, and by the sense that in 1997, when the JLA comic came out, the team had kind of gone to shit with a lot of also-rans nobody cared about. They're bringing it back. They're doing a Justice League Unlimited comic book, I believe, that is coming out later in the year, and they're bringing back the heavy hands. You're going to have your Superman, your Batman, your Wonder Woman. They're going to be like, oh, you want this to be the characters you care about? Okay, fine. They're going to do that. So that's cool, comics-wise. And there's just been a whole bunch of other random shit. But the big one, the one that everybody cares about, and you know what? You knew more there than I thought you might. You cared about a few things. You had some opinions. I'm proud of you.
Go team.
You let me rant about Star Trek for a second when I know you don't care. I had to get that off my chest. We'll make this quick, because there's not a lot to say, because it's all speculation. It's more gut reaction. They brought out a host of Doctor Dooms and said, Doctor Doom, they're not doing the Kang Legacy anymore. They brought out the Russo brothers. They're going to direct the next 2 Avengers movie, which is going to still be Secret Wars for the last one, but the next one isn't the Kang Legacy anymore. It's the Avengers Doomsday. And they did a big reveal where one of the Doctor Dooms whipped off his mask, and OMG, it's going to be Robert Downey Jr., as they said, as Victor Von Doom, Doctor Doom. I have so many nerdy thoughts, but as you, who is less of a nerd, but as a movie fan, and have been following these movies the entire time, how did you react initially? How you reacted as you thought about it? Where do you stand now? Robert Downey Jr. coming back to the MCU, the Russos coming back and casting Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. Randy, go, and then I'll go after.
My initial reaction was, okay.
That's a lot from a lot of people.
Yeah. And then the more I thought about it and did some research into other people's reactions, and it kind of shaped mine, I think, as well, was the last 4 to 5 Marvel movies, maybe Deadpool and Wolverine not with like being an exception just because of what type of movie that it was. The movement into the next phase of the MCU has been a little tricky, right? Has been fine, and people have enjoyed it. The movies have made money, but it has not just completely hit like from the time of Infinity War and Endgame, right? Not really since then has it been this event, this thing that you got to see. Spider-Man No Way Home, I guess, would be the other one that in the last 6-7 years that it also fits in that. And they started to realize that maybe the way through this is to stick with what we know. And even though Robert Downey Jr. is, he's not going to be Iron Man, but we got the Russo brothers and we got him. If we start with that, this is a way to back, like a lifeline back to everybody being more interested in it as more of a big event because we know him, as opposed to trying to introduce a lot more of other stuff and then ancillarily throw stuff in. So it doesn't feel shoehorned. It feels like, even though it's sort of a shoehorning, but it's kind of like a short-term nostalgia type play. And I could see that as a money-making endeavor or as a lure to get people to come out. Plus, I mean, I think Robert Downey Jr. has shown in the last 4 or 5 years that he can be beyond what that casting is for. I didn't think of him obviously as Tony Stark and Oppenheimer. I didn't think of him as Tony Stark and a lot of other things. He's a good enough actor that he can change that up. So I think it can still work. The one tweet that I saw that I thought was pretty hilarious was that it was like Kevin Feige says, "Get me how do you say his name? Cillian Murphy? How do we?"
Yes.
He was like, he said briefly, forget Cillian Murphy's name. Get me the guy from Oppenheimer, Kevin Feige's assistant. No problem, boss. That's
That's
a pretty good one.
I like that. That's good. That's very good. So, just to clarify there, did you say if you think this character is going to be considered a Tony Stark variant, or is he playing a completely original character? They just cast Robert Downey Jr.
I hope it's not. Like, that's how I would say it. I don't know. I have seen that that's out there, but I would rather it not be for my purposes. But I could see it if they want to continue, because I'm having variant and multiverse fatigue as well.
We all are. So my thought process is, I think it's lazy to say, even if the performance is completely different, I think it's lazy to say Victor Von Doom would be a Stark variant. It's just lazy, convenient, clickbait writing when you could write such a powerful character. Now, I actually do think Robert Downey Jr., everyone's going to assume he's going to go in and be Stark. I think he could put in an amazing performance as Victor Von Doom. The arrogance, the chutzpah, the everything about it. He's such a good actor, like you said. He would be so good. The problem is, this casting comes with so much baggage. And it comes down to what we've been talking about this whole episode. What will the nerds process and what will casual audiences process? A casual audience who doesn't follow Comic-Con, who doesn't follow the internet, they're going to see that, and if they've conditioned the audience to just barely understand multiverses now, right? So I think they are going to immediately see him and just think he's a version of Tony Stark. No matter what else you say, no matter what else you do in a preview, unless they hit it immediately hard and clearly, they're going to say, oh, he's just another Tony Stark. Because they've now trained the audience to understand there can be a million of them. And that's going to hurt the project. No matter how powerful his performance is, now you've damaged yourself, I feel like, on the outset. You could give the most nuanced creation reason, the most nuanced performance, but you have front-loaded yourself with having to deal with the expectations and an explanation that you wouldn't have had to deal with if you just cast a great other actor as a Doom and said, we're doing Doom. All the nerds would still freak out. Yeah. Every nerd would freak out. They're doing Doom. Oh, man. And also in the comics, Kang and Doom are connected as descendants and ancestors and this. You can still write your pivot in for the nerds. It's a clickbait casting I wish they hadn't done. It could be the best performance ever, the most creative reason. I still wish they hadn't muddied the waters.
Fair.
That's where I'm at. So, and that's, I can't, there are so many people saying it's going to be so bad. No, it could be an amazing journey that we'd love in the moment. But now we've got years of confusion. I put something online where I think the most annoying part of this to me as a nerd is I'm going to have every casual friend asking me for 3 years, so what do you think about Robert Downey Jr.? What's the deal with this? I'm already tired of explaining it. I'm already tired of talking about it. Yeah. And it's just years of, well, it could be this. Well, maybe this. I'm already exhausted, Randy. This is the venue where I'm happy to talk about it. But in real life, there's going to be so many people just asking about it and I'm already exhausted. So, and I'm so exhausted, we should probably wrap this episode. We started fun and happy talking about a good time movie, and we're just going to end depressed and tired and miserable. So, there you go.
Such is the way of the world.
Yeah, we've really bring things down. But you know what you should bring up, listeners?
Yeah.
is our star count on. See, that wasn't that great. Let me.
You're the king of segues, my friend. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so fucking awkward.
Oh wait,
because
my maybe friend. We're not. I don't want to give it away.
Oh yeah. Don't fuck it up. So we're lovers. That's what I said earlier, right? Is that no? You wanted to be. We're not. That's the problem. That's what it is. You wanted to be. I'm gonna bring it back. In fact, instead of hang on, record scratch. Instead of our normal outro music, I put the slow jam music in over our outro right now. Right? I would have already hit our outro that we normally do. Our theme's gone. The theme is out. Yo, girl, I want to talk to you, or boy, or gender fluid. I want to talk to you about leaving a 5-star review of your podcast provider of choice. I want to tell you to leave a positive review there and say nice things. If you got something mean, if you want a little nasty, send me an email at MikeBarcode, MikeBarcode@gmail.com. You can say anything you want there, and we'll talk about it on the show. You got a disagreement? Say it there. If you want to give us those sweet nothings, you leave it on the podcast. Thanks. It really helps our hot algorithm. The hot algorithm. You can also find me on Instagram, where I'm too hot for the podcast, at Mike Barcode, MikeBarcode on Instagram and TikTok. And we'll leave it at that. Randy, you got anything else?
I've never been more excited to say goodbye, everybody.